You're listening to Market the Brew, a leading resource for promoting and marketing craft beer. Join in as we share with you, straight from the source, tools and strategies craft brewers from around the country are using right now to achieve significant success.
Very excited to share with you the Geary Brewing story. We got involved back in 2017 when we acquired the brewery from the original owner, David, who was nearing retirement and wanted a transition plan. So we talked over the course of about a year and were able to come up with an agreement and structure that was able to transfer the brewery to, which is 1820 Brewing, which was our company, and to continue the tradition of Geary Brewing, which has got its license in 1983 as a federally brewer's license, number 13. So one of the original.
Hello, I'm Scott Schmidt, founder of Promote the Brew and the Market the Brew podcast. I'm on today as Danielle and Travis were unavailable for this episode. In today's episode, we originally had the owner of this brewery on back in March of 2017. That was episode 19. And at that episode, the owner talked to us about a very unique program he was running with a local college where he had design students competing to design the packaging and bottle labels for their Oktoberfest beer. And every year he would select a winner, or a team would select a winner. And then that winner would not only get their design on the packaging for that year, but they would also receive money towards their tuition that year. Well, back in 2017, the owner of that brewery decided that he wanted to sell. Before we start this podcast, just a quick reminder that the Market the Brew podcast is available at marketthebrew.com and on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts, and other popular podcast sites. The video of this and other episodes are available on the Promote the Brew YouTube channel for you to watch or listen in. And we hope that you'll join us for this episode as well as many other episodes, and share those episodes with your family and friends on your social media platforms. Now, find a comfortable place to sit, grab a glass of your favorite beer, kick back and relax as we talk to Alan Lapoint of Geary Brewing and 1820 Brewing Company located in Portland, Maine. Cheers. Hello and welcome to the Market the Brew podcast. I'm Scott Schmidt, founder of Promote the Brew. And this week we have Alan Lapoint on from Geary Brewing up in Portland, Maine. Wanted to make sure I didn't say Portland, Oregon there. From Portland, Maine, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the name Geary. It's been a legend in this country for the past 40 years, and we'll get into a little bit of that a little later on. But what I'd really like to do now is have David say hello to everybody and introduce himself and talk a little bit about how he got into the brewing world and a little bit about Geary.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for having me on. Very excited to share with you the Geary Brewing story. We got involved back in 2017 when we acquired the brewery from the original owner, David, who was nearing retirement and wanted a transition plan. So we talked over the course of about a year and were able to come up with an agreement and structure that was able to transfer the brewery to, which is 1820 Brewing, which was our company, and to continue the tradition of Geary Brewing, which has got its license in 1983 as a federally brewer's license, number 13. So one of the original.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So you purchased it in 2017. How long have you guys been involved with brewing prior to the acquisition?
So prior to brewing acquisition of Geary Brewing, we were not in the brewing industry as a producer of beer, but we were in the liquid filtration purification side of brewing and microbreweries, large macro breweries as well as spirits and other beverages. So we've been in the purification world for over 30 plus years. So we're very familiar with the process, really love the products. And this opportunity came up. So we said, hey, let's give this a shot. Let's preserve Maine's most famous brewery as far as the length of time. It's the first craft brewery east of the Mississippi after Prohibition. So it has a tremendous history, tremendous legacy, and just a great creative, innovative culture. So we were really excited to continue with the with what David started. So very excited about it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the size of the brewery. How many barrels are you producing on average per year?
So we average right about 12,000 barrels a year. That's the combination of Geary Brewing, 1820, which is a non-alcoholic brewing, as well as some co-packing. So we've gotten into the co-packing side as well. So we've been doing about 12,000 barrels for the last couple of years. We also have the ability to do about 32,000 barrels with the amount of equipment we have, the amount of packaging, the amount of fermentation. We have both closed fermentation and then the original English style brewing, which is an open fermentation process. So we've really got the scope of brewery styles that you can brew at our facility. That's why it lends itself to be a really good co-packing facility as well.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned 1820, let's take a little side trip and let's talk a little bit about 1820 and what is 1820 and how did it come about and how is it that you're running two breweries out of the same brewery?
Yeah, well, that's a really interesting story because we started investigating doing non-alcoholic beer back in 2019. So about 2 years after, Robin and I decided we wanted to offer our guests, along with the people in the state of Maine, an alternative so that you could have a great tasting style beer without the alcohol. So it was something we looked into heavily in 2019. We're about to pull the trigger in 2020, and all of a sudden, March, the pandemic hit. So we kind of put everything on hold, not knowing what the future was going to hold for the craft brewing industry and life in general, I guess. So we decided to hold on because we wanted to do it in an authentic way. And when we say that, we don't want to de-alcoholize the product. We don't want to vacuum distill the product. We really want to just brew it the traditional way. We've got brewers that have total experience of over 70 years of brewing. So we wanted to lean on their expertise and their love and passion of brewing without altering the product at all. So we put on hold. We picked it back up in 2021, got really excited about it, started to really perfect the flavor profile, which is definitely one of the hardest parts. But once you do that, you're only halfway through the game, which we thought, hey, we got it. We've got the flavor profile. We got the process. We're going to kill it. And then, you realize this is a food product. This is a food safety product that you've got to make sure you're making a product that's safe to be on the shelves when it doesn't have alcohol in it. It doesn't have any preservatives in it. So we investigated and went and decided on tunnel pasteurization. So we tunnel pasteurize every single batch that we have to make sure it's food safe, shelf stable. And it's a very expensive process, but we really feel it's the only way to do it. You've got to, once you're in the package and then you're pasteurizing, then it's going to be safe. So that took a long time to decide on how to do it, what technology was the best and safest to preserve the flavor. So it's been a long road. So we introduced it back in the summer of 2022, did a soft introduction, and then really focused on it in dry January of 23. It really kicked off quite a bit.
Okay, so a full year. How many styles or how many brands of non-alcohol beer are you currently serving?
Yeah, so right now we've got 7 that we do.
7, okay.
And that we offer. We have a variety pack that offers 4 different ones. So we have a blonde, we have a Vienna sweet, which is similar to a Vienna lager. We've got a stout. We have an American Pale Ale. We've got an IPA. We've got a Raz, what we call all that Raz, and then we have a wit beer. So it's been, we're not trying to go too wide in our product category, but really focus on the products that we do them really well, get them to the public and see how it takes place. We do have a online website, an e-commerce site, so we can ship it all over the country at 1820brewing.com, which opens up a whole world of opportunities when you can have that direct ship to customers, and you get the direct feedback, which is great. And so we're really excited about that. That's been a huge plus. This year we've seen tremendous growth. 23 was great. 24 is off to a fantastic start. So we're excited, and we're finding that the people that are consuming that non-alcoholic product really are not people that are just staying away from alcohol totally. It's really about people that want balance in their life. Some days they want to have alcohol. Other days they just rather have the flavor profile without any of the other attributes of alcohol. So we really feel it's a balance. That's the biggest category, and it's all over the place. I wouldn't even say it's older people. You're seeing younger people looking at it and saying, hey, you know what? I'm looking at a healthier alternative some of the days of the week. So what are the ways to drink myself to better health, as opposed to having maybe a couple of drinks every night? You have a couple of drinks, but every other night it's non-alcoholic. So it's a really interesting category. The social acceptance of it is growing dramatically. When you pour it, it looks, it smells, it tastes just like beer. So if you're the designated driver, you're not going to feel uncomfortable in an environment where everyone else is drinking a beer. It has a nice head to it, has a great smell to it. This is going to have the same social experience that you're going to have with it without the alcohol.
Right. Well, that's pretty exciting. And so with the 1820 brewing, you can distribute anywhere in the United States. How about with Geary? Where are you distributing the Geary brand?
So the Geary brand is primarily just in the state of Maine. Okay. We've focused on really getting deeper penetration into the state, and it's gone well. We've had a really good 23 was a really good year for us. Surprising, craft beer in general is, I think, struggling nationally. But I think we're fortunate. We've got a really strong brand. It's been around for a long time. It's got a very loyal consumer base. So we've really focused on serving the customers here in Maine.
Okay. So are you using a distributor, or are you self-distributing?
Yeah, we actually use a distributor. We have two distributors, Pine State and Nappy in the state of Maine. So we're covered. We're in almost all the big retail outlets. In Maine, we have grocery stores, Hannaford, Shaw's, Market Basket, Walmart, and we're in all those stores. So we're readily available if you come into the state of Maine. Just about everywhere carries, either our pale ale, which is the original pale that we started the company on, or the seasonals, HSA, which is a strong ale, or summer ale. So it's very easy to find the product once you cross over into the state.
Okay. Wow. So if I remember right, you guys recently won a bronze for one of your beers at the Great American Beer Festival, or was it a local beer festival?
We did. No, it was a Great American Beer Festival. Yeah, it was they were out of Connecticut. It was a Great American Beer, Mead, wine, not wine, beer, mead, and one other category of beer. And we won a bronze for our brown ale, which is fantastic beer. It's seasonal, so it's only in the fall time. And it was really exciting to get it because it's been a while since we've entered any contest like that. And to put that product in there and have that kind of result was really exciting for the brewers and everyone else.
Well, that's pretty cool. So let's talk a little bit about your acquisition of Geary and having such a strong legacy brand with new ownership. How do you maintain some of that Geary nostalgia while still growing and promoting the fact that it is different ownership, it is different beers, you are moving into a different area? How do you walk that tightrope?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think we thought about it long and hard before we embarked on this adventure as well. So we have a saying that says, preserve the core and stimulate progress. So in that genre of thought process, what we really do is we say, okay, we have the heritage side of the company, which is the English style traditional Peter Austin brewing system, open fermentation. The yeast has been repitched over 10,000 times. So it's really the traditional way of making products. So that's one section of our facility that is just tried and true, authentic, clean, crisp, English style ales. So we wanted to preserve that. That's still the biggest part of our brand by far. But to try to toe the line and say, to share with people that, we can also make really high quality New England hazy IPAs. We kind of had to shift a little bit from a production side as well. So we have a separate section of the facility. There's 19 60-barrel closed fermenters. So that's where we can make lagers, and we have really great blueberry lager that we have in the summertime. We have a sour raz lager that we have in the summertime. They're fantastic. They do great in the summer. But we also, with our co-packing, learned how to make some really, really fun style IPAs, double IPAs, different style hops that people are using, not just, the typical Citra Mosaic. It's really getting into, Love El Dorado, Love Azaka. Those are really cool hops. So as we got into the co-packing, it really gave us the opportunity to see what we liked and how we wanted to define ourselves as a contemporary brewery. So we have a contemporary line of products that really are sister products to the heritage style. And those are we got a trip series, Haze Trip, Solo Trip, a Day Trip, which is a phenomenal session IPA, 4%, really, really fresh. So it's been a challenge. I think people don't necessarily look at us as that cool, hip, contemporary style IPA in the beginning. We have had a couple of the IPAs really take off and do pretty well. So we do have our flagships within the contemporary side of the business, which is probably true for every company, right? You get there, you're doing 5 or 6 IPAs, 1 or 2 are probably going to be your flagship. It's rare that someone's going to have 5 beers that all sell a ton equally. So, you let the consumer decide. You get it out there, you do tastings, you go to festivals so that they can try different styles that you're coming out with, and then they tell you what they like. And that's the one you focus on, your market, your brand. So it's been hard. It's not, wouldn't kid ourselves if we said, yeah, that was an easy transition. It's a very challenging transition to go from a heritage style where everybody knows is English. We were making in the beginning phenomenal IPAs, and someone made a comment, oh yeah, that's an English yeast. And it was like, no, it's a standard American yeast that every other IPA guy uses. But it was just more the stigma of the brewery because it uses it. So it's been a challenge. I think we're starting to see the light at the end of that tunnel. But again, we're 7 years into it. So it's taken a little bit of time. And I think the fact that we were co-packing for a lot of really cool brands, a lot of people, it leaks out over time. And people are like, wow, you know what? Maybe I should try an IPA from Geary's. So it's been challenging though. Fun, but challenging.
I believe it, and since 2017, with the Legacy, the new brewing, and the 1820, how have you seen your demographics within the tap room change and some of your beer sales at retail change because of all the things you have going on?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we have seen the change a little bit in the tasting room. The one thing is unique about our brand, obviously, is that once you're the original craft brewery, everybody wants to come and see it for the first time. So we get visitors from all over the country saying, I did a look search, and we didn't realize, but you're the first craft brewery east of the Mississippi. You have federal brewer's license number 13. We had to come see you. So we get a lot of that. And that age demographic is all over the place. It's young 20s to, people in their 60s and 70s who just love craft beer, maybe not as familiar with the brand as other people are. So that really draws a lot of people to us. And then we can show other products. We do a lot of business retail wise. And I would say that the demographics probably has changed a little bit because we're doing a little bit more with cans than we have been in the past. So over the last few years, we've really focused on cans. And I think the younger, let's say late 20s, 30s, and 40s drinker become more accustomed to like a 16-ounce can or a 12-pack of cans. So that's kind of introduced them to our product line because of the versatility of a can that a bottle just doesn't have. I think our more traditional consumers love the bottle. I can't imagine getting rid of a bottle because it's just how some people love it, and it's iconic. It's a heritage bottle. It's not a long neck bottle. So even that, throws you back 20, 30 years at least. But I do think having the cans has been a huge help. We put some of our summer ale and HSA, which is our strong Hampshire, into 19.2s, single serve. And again, that attracts a totally different crowd. And I think just having that exposure, having the flexibility in the production lines helps build the brand in a lot of different areas and different market segments.
Wow, you guys have a lot going on. 3 strong style segments within one brewery, different packaging, different distribution. I don't know how you guys keep it all together up there, but apparently you must be doing a great job because you guys are 15,000 barrels with a capacity of twice that and plus more. I can see just great things happening with you guys.
Yeah, we're excited. I think as we were bringing the brewery into the 21st century, we also focused a ton on sustainability, right? So I think that appeals to certain consumers as well, that they want to know what you're doing. So all of our grains, our spent grains, are sent to a pig farm. We take our hops and we recapture our hops either through the trub or the dry hopping and send it to a place called Garbage to Garden, where they use it to make compost. We've reduced the amount of CO2 by doing a lot of nitrogen. So we blanket all of our tanks and prep all of our lines with nitrogen instead of CO2. So we've drastically reduced our CO2 consumption. And then we've, from day one, always bought what we call wind recs. So our facility has always been powered by wind. So those are types of things where consumers care about those things. And those things are important for the environment, important for sustainability. And I think when you do those things, they're going to look at your brand differently and they're going to take another look. And that's what we wanted to do. We want to make sure we're good stewards. We support the local economy, but we're also, the sustainability is a constant focus for us. And I think people appreciate that. And they say, well, you know what, let me try Geary's again. Cause I heard great things about it from my parents or my uncles, but you know what, I don't know if I've ever really enjoyed it. So let me grab one of those 12 packs of cans, which I really love, or a 16-ounce can. Let me give that a shot. So we're seeing a lot of that too. And I think just doing the right thing over and over again, and it's really, really important.
Since you mentioned it early on, it sounds like you have a background in filtration. Are you filtering water coming out of the brewery as well, then going back into the environment?
Yeah, so we're fortunate that way, right? So we have a rating from the local Portland Water District where we only have to test our water once a year because of how clean it is going back into the sewer. So again, we're fortunate. I don't think every brewery can afford to do the extent that we do, but we purify, we filter, we remove as much of the yeast out of that stream as possible to keep our BODs down. So yeah, but again, we put in our own filtration trub system as well, so that we can get as much of the wort out as possible, but at the same time, capture those hops and send them off to recycling. Right. Not everyone can afford to do it. It's just part of the fortunate aspect of our other business, and it does make it. It's made a big difference. The Portland Water District's thrilled. We got a special recognition from them as well. So yeah, it's there are some benefits.
Definitely. Well, I was talking to somebody about this back a while ago. It might have been 2 years ago. With the advent of the mobile beer canning lines, the discussion was around when is somebody going to come up with a mobile filtration system where a brewery, you could pull up to a brewery, you could run it through their filtration system and then pump it back into the municipal lines, reducing your water content going back into your environment. It'll be interesting to see if anything ever comes of that in the future.
Yeah. I think there's not a bad thought process to it. I think there's some probably validity there. The systems are they're pretty expensive. They're on the little bit larger side. So certain breweries, it could be tough to do it. And it really depends on how much you're generating, daily and that
Right.
kind of thing. Because you typically don't dump your water like once a week, or it's constantly going to drain, right? So that's
Right.
the other challenge. Unless you would people would have to put it into a big storage tank and then go and
Right.
process it on the storage tank, kind of like you do with mobile bottling, right? And mobile canning.
Yep.
You wait till you have 44, 88 barrels. You can store it in your bright tank, and then you have them come in. They process for a day, and you can come back in a couple more days. Water processing a little bit more challenging, unless someone had a big storage tank, and then then it would be a very
Right.
viable option.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody will figure it out one day.
You know what? I would think there's a lot of good technology.
Yeah, and everybody's kind of heading to the sustainability end of the spectrum as well. So I think that, it's possible one day. So let's move along a little bit. We've talked a little bit about being up in the Portland, Maine area, and Maine has a very strong brewing background, I would call it. And since you've come since 2017, I've been aware with the old Maine beer box that used to go to different places around the world, and some of the other events that are going on up in Maine. How have you seen the community involvement for Geary? Both the traditional Geary, the new Gearys, and the 1820, as it's gone out to the community. I imagine having three distinct kind of brands of beer going out. You're hitting different people in the community, and people within the community are probably receiving you guys in different ways. Um, how do you get all that community together? And please everybody.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would say Maine, as I've traveled the country for other reasons, I would say Maine probably has one of the strongest beer cultures in the country for craft beer. People really enjoy it. I mean, they would like going to the different breweries. They like trying the different styles. They love to see one-offs. And they're not just there to consume. They really get into understanding what taste profiles are like. I mean, I have people coming in talking about, oh, is this Mosaic, or is this Citra, or is this Azaka? And they're talking about hops that most people would have no idea. So Maine's beer culture is really, really strong. And I think the state has embraced this aspect of the economy, pretty much to the point where, we have a couple malters in the state that we use Blue Ox malt, which is made in Maine, in every single batch that we do. So we incorporate their product, and it's really a lot of homegrown, raw ingredients that we use to support the local economy. And that's what everybody is like in Maine. They want to support the local. They want to, be a part of something bigger, which this community really is a social environment where it allows people to get together, enjoy a couple pints, talk about what's going on in the state or in your town, but you're doing it in a social environment. The beauty of the 1820 is that you can do it and do both, right? So if you're someone who's not a drinker, you can still come to our tap room, or you can go to several other tap rooms that carry our product, and you can have that while everybody else is drinking a regular pint. So you don't have to feel like, I'm going to have to go and have water. I'm the designated driver. So it was a natural fit actually with 1820 to come into this fold. And I do think now a lot of people are looking for it. I don't think it's ever going to be as large as beer. I don't even think it will take over 20% of the beer world. But the beer world is pretty big, so even 5% is a significant amount. And so the more opportunities you give to people to enjoy this style of product, the more likely they are to stay in this category as opposed to all the other competing categories that are out there, whether it's ready to drinks, seltzers, ciders, meads, kombucha. I mean, there's a lot of alternatives out there. So we, as a beer community, Maine and the craft brewers do a phenomenal job of making it a fun social experience for everyone. So they want to keep coming back, and that's really, really important for everybody.
Right. Okay. And it's funny with seltzer because they started out as the non-alcoholic and ended up as an alcoholic brand. So it's not like people haven't had their non-alcoholic version so far. Um,
Right.
so let's talk about the beer community, craft brewers, home brewers, things going on around the world. Seeing as you're still somewhat new, but well versed in the beer world, do you have any advice to homebrewers or people that are looking to make the move from homebrewing into a brewery? Some of the things that you might have learned in the acquisition, as well as in not only establishing your own brand, but then also establishing a non-alcoholic brand. That's a lot of education in 7 years. Um, there's got to be some tips or
Yeah,
words of wisdom that you could share.
I would, it's funny you asked that because I think it's very different today than when we got into it. So when we got into it in 2017, I think being a production brewery, there was still room for growth and there was still room for profitability if you got to a certain level of production. I see a lot of production breweries now that are really either buying other breweries to fill capacity, or what they're doing is they're actually doing a lot of tasting rooms, and they're building out 2 or 3 different tasting rooms. So going more direct to consumer, obviously they get higher margins, but they get captured audience from that. So if I was going to start brand new, I don't think I would look at a production size type of brewery, and that could even mean 5,000 barrels a year. I think I would suggest anybody to start off as a brew pub or as a tasting room, have a small little one barrel, 2 barrel system. And then as you grow, look for a co-packer that could help you grow before you make investments in actual equipment for a higher production and a bigger facility. Because one of the things that we offer as a co-packer, and this is why I think it's pretty good that way, is that we have silo malt. So we're getting really good pricing on malt. We have a rotary canning line that goes 90 cans a minute. We buy contract hops. So our cost for production is going to be significantly lower than someone just starting out. So you can pass that along. They can make decent margin and then start going through distribution to decide what's the next level investment they want to make. But I would start with, small little 1 or 2 barrel system, get a really cool tasting room, create a nice experience, or a brew pub. I think brew pubs are great if you're a person that likes restaurant type of businesses, and see and grow it that way. Because I think that's going to be the hardest part right now. It's getting very competitive for shelf space in a lot of the retailers. There's more competition, not just from beer. It's actually not even the beer category. It's all the other categories that are encroaching on the beer aisle. So you got the RTDs, you got the seltzers, and you're now going to see things like mocktails. So that's becoming a bigger category, and it's all something has to give, right? So I think what's starting to give a little bit is the shelf space for craft beer and the styles that aren't moving as much. And you're quicker to lose shelf space nowadays than you were 7 years ago when we first got into it. I think that would be my advice to someone: start slow. If it's your passion, enjoy it. Make sure it stays your passion, and while you're experimenting on whether or not you want to make this your business and your livelihood. And you can do that as a small brewery, doing a couple barrels a day. It's enough to feed your tap room, and then just see how it goes and see what the acceptance is.
That's a good advice. Good advice. So looking forward for Geary in 1820, is there anything on the horizon that you're willing to share with us today?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is that we're getting into. You'll see other styles of products from us as well. You'll see some ready to drink. We also are licensed as a small distillery, so we can do mixing and blending of hard seltzers, hard teas, things of that nature. So we've played around a little bit with getting into the hard tea world, which would be equivalent to like a twisted tea or Mike's Hard Lemonade or things like that. And kind of coming up with our craft brand, because one of the unique processes that we have in our system is that we have tunnel pasteurization, right? So that's a big deal whenever you get into these RTDs that have sugar in them or sweeteners, things that can ferment, because you got to make sure there's no fermentations happening. So
Right.
we're in a really unique position. I think that we're going to try to capitalize on that in a small way. We'll start in Maine, but you'll probably see things like that coming this summer.
Okay.
And we're really excited about that. So the RTD world is a whole new world. As a co-packer, you get to see all these things and say, okay, I like this, I don't like that. Mocktails, I think, are great. I don't think it's for us, even though we do co-pack some for other people. I don't think our brand warrants it, but the hard iced teas and, we can also do nitro, because we have a nitrogen dosing process. So you might see some nitro beers from us.
Okay.
You might see a nitro coffee. There's a lot of opportunities for us out there.
Yeah. Well, if you can catch some people in the morning on their way to work and then have them stop on their way home for something with some alcohol in it, it's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
So
we want to give them a full experience.
Yes, exactly. We've covered a lot of subjects today. We've kind of gone on some tangents and brought it back in. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you think is important for the listeners and the viewers to understand about Geary Brewing or 1820?
We did a pretty good job covering it. We really like, I think the 1820 is something that you'll start to see spread out more in New England. That's the one where we are getting more interest from distributors in the southern part of New England, Massachusetts area. So we do think that's going to expand quite a bit. I would encourage people to try 1820brewing.com and see what they think of the flavor profile, because the way we produce the product, we fully ferment it. It's not arrested. So we get those nice flavor profiles in the body that you're looking for in a regular beer. You're getting the nice mouthfeel from a really fermented product. So yeah, that would be one of the areas I would challenge people to say, take a session IPA, take an IPA from our Wavefinder, which is a really good IPA. You probably can trick some friends in thinking it's alcohol, and it's really not. But it has a great body to it, and that's one thing that I'm really proud that the guys were able to create a product that, from a body standpoint, you're like, well, you know what? That's not thin. That has a nice mouthfeel to it. So
it'd be interesting to do a flight where, you put one non-alcoholic beer in there and see if a consumer can figure out which one is the non-alcoholic.
Yeah. Well, when you dry hop something and you put like 2 pounds, 3 pounds per barrel of dry hops in there, you're getting all the aroma you're getting from a normal session or 5% IPA. The nose won't know a difference. Right. It's really whether or not you can have a mouthfeel that tricks them into thinking, wow, this is pretty good.
All right. Well, I appreciate your time today, Alan. And anybody that's listening, I suggest that you go to 1820.com or 1820brewing.com, correct?
Yep.
Order
correct.
up some samples, have them sent to your house, give it a try, and tag us on social media to let us know. It's probably hashtag 1820brewing and
Correct.
hashtag Market the Brew, and let us know what you think. Love to hear your comments. And we appreciate you.
We love getting the feedback.
Yeah, awesome. And we appreciate you listening in, and make sure you tell all your friends about Market the Brew podcast, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks again, Alan. Pleasure having you on today, and we look forward to hearing more about what's going on up in Portland soon.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the time.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers.
We've reached the end of this episode, but there's plenty more to keep you busy. For online source materials and proven case studies delivered right to your inbox, sign up for our mailing list by visiting marketthebrew.com. We'll see you next time on Market the Brew.